Hello and welcome. This is a Suntour XC Pro pedal. I just worked on the XC7000 pedals and I would like to replace the bearings on those, and I would like to find out if they have the same size bearings on these ones. They look quite similar, at least the spindle looks like the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to open these up. This particular pedal actually is fairly smooth, you know, I wouldn't have to really replace it technically. But I think if I could add some grease on the bearings, will definitely make it better. Now usually these use the grease guard system. I've already done this on another pedal on the other side, and you push the grease through this spindle, and normally what it does is it disperses the grease to the bearings. On the XC7000 I don't believe it had that feature. It had simply a hollow spindle, so it'll be interesting to see how that actually functions on the interior anyway. So we're going to open up and find out. So we're going to take off all the bolts first before anything. It's a number 2, I believe. They're going to be hard. Got one. I'm not going to bore you with the every single bolt, so we'll fast forward to me removing the cage. Now we should be able to take off this cage. Okay, then now we've done that, we can now remove this plastic cap. So just using a sharp knife, you can eventually lift this up. And that exposes us to the bolt that we need to take off. So using a number 4 for the bolt here, and a, I don't know, adjustable wrench or any spanner that holds onto the flat part of the spindle to give you a bit of grip or leverage. Oh, that's going to be hard. Got it. Right, now I have a feeling we're going to be needing to do the same thing like on the XC7000 pedals. I'm going to check. Yeah, it doesn't move. Okay, so I'm going to give it a little whack with a hammer to budge the spindle out. Yeah, it's definitely starting to work. The battery just cut out when I was just finishing off. So I've taken off the bolt now, and the spindle has come out with the ball bearing, so I'm going to need to take that off. It's still stuck onto the spindle. So now I can see clearly how this all functions. There's a hole here, none on the other side. The other bearing seems to be completely enclosed, whilst this bearing here seems to be open, obviously to allow grease to enter onto the bearings when you're using the grease guard system going through the spindle. So it does appear on first glance that the bearing here is a 698, so the same dimension as the XC7000. So to pop this off, I'm gonna bang it with a hammer. I'm gonna do that off camera because it's a lot easier, but simply I'm just gonna use this and hit it on both sides until it comes off. There you go. Okay, so that's come off now. I can see that the number on here is exactly like the XC7000, the larger bearing. So it's a 7mm thickness. Interior is 10 and exterior is 19mm. I guess the only thing that you would need to do here is just, when you get the bearing, just to take off the top if you need to replace this. This one seems to be okay from what I can feel, so I'm just going to add some grease onto here. To knock out the other bearing, just simply put anything at the back here and give it a small whack with a hammer until it pops out. In fact, I'm pretty sure if I do this, and there you go, that's the other one. Right, so I gave the spindle a clean, or the grease guard thing. It was the tube that was, or the hole that's going through the spindle, as it was blocked. Eventually I managed to push out the old grease that was stuck inside, and I've now started to put new grease inside. I did need though a plug. I used the plug from the other XC Pro pedal that I've got. So anyway, now I'm going to put this back together. We'll add a bit more grease and get the push the bearing through. In some synthetic grease. It's I don't know. It's advertised for bearings, so it should be okay. Bearing on top of here, and I think I'm just gonna again hit it with a hammer. I think this should be okay. Oops. No, there's way too much on this side. Should be all here. And you can see the bearings pushing into the body itself. Silly me, I forgot to put the dust cap. Normally it should just go back in though. So for the other side, I'm just going to put the bearing. I have a feeling I can just screw this, push this down using the bolt itself. So we're going to put the bearing on the other side in. We're going to use the spindle and the bolt itself to get it in. I'm going to use this spacer to kind of even out the pressure on this bolt when I'm going to get it in, as long as there's enough space for me to do that. Okay, I think that's good. A bit too tight. Let's untighten it. So I'm going to take that back off now. So I'm going to put the small little thin spacers back onto the bolt. Now I think you do need to kind of play around with this bolt. You don't want to put too tight, so maybe putting some thread locker on it eventually. Let's pop on the cap for now. Oh, that's annoying to get on. Just smacked it quickly with a hammer and it worked. Okay, so no play here, and actually quite smooth, funnily enough. In any case, I'll be eventually replacing those, so I'm going to order some bearings and I'll let you know if that works. We can now install the cage back on. And finally the last bolt. So really happy completed that for now. So while my batteries run out, I actually got delivered my XC Pro thumb shifters. So I'll get to be doing a video on these as well at one point. Right, so that's done and that's complete. Be careful with the hammer, you don't want to damage any of the parts. I'll leave info below to tell you whether the bearings worked or not. I'll leave the information about the bearing sizes that you need if you ever need to replace yours. So thank you for listening, and until next time, peace out.